Greetings, everybody. This is the Ordinal coming to you from somewhere in Mexico. Nice part of Mexico. In today's sermon, on our walk, because we got to do our walk every day. We got to get out. We got to move the muscles. We can't be stagnant. Today, we will be talking about survival, preppers, and self-sufficient landowners. You will be the first on the menu. I watch a lot of YouTube videos that talk about, preppers, and you need to buy land, you need to grow your own food. And a lot of these people on YouTube, right? A lot of these people on YouTube, and they're telling you, of what's quote unquote coming, and how, there's going to be a food shortage, and they're going to cut the power grid, and nobody will be able to get to the grocery store. And if you're in the city, you're going to have it worse. Blah, 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 blah. All that stuff that they say, right? But when you think about it, if you're on YouTube and you're telling the world that, you're self-sufficient, you got acres of land and you're growing your own food, then when times get tough and they cut everything, I know where to go. I mean, I'm not going to be there because I'm not in America anymore, but you would be the first I would go to, because I know you have land. I know you have food, and it just makes sense to come after you. And so with all these, preppers and these doomsday preppers, they call themselves. See, Hollywood has this thing to where they put in movies what's going to happen, or the Illuminati, if you believe in them. They put into movies what's going to happen, or what they plan to have happen. And most recently, there was a few movies that talked about, doomsday preppers and, people who are on their own land and et cetera, right? And it shows that they had to hold their own. They had to hold it down, to survive. And they're the ones on the land. They got their own land. They got their own guns. They got their own food. And they had to literally fend off the people who didn't have anything. So that's just food for thought. If you're on YouTube talking about, you got this, you got that, you're doing all this advertising, yeah, that's where the masses are going to come. And so, and also keep in mind, you have these militia groups out here, right? They're already armed. They may not have land, but they have guns. And they have militant, very, very militant regiments. And you just put yourself on the spotlight. You just put yourself on a spotlight to get taken. And so that's just something to consider. A lot of people they like to boast and brag and say, oh, we're prepared. We have this, we have that. And, it's probably too late if you're still in the city. If you haven't prepped by now, it's too late. You're not going to be able to make it. You're not going to be able to survive. No. You look at these movies out here. You're going to be the one on the menu. You're going to be not me, because they already know I don't have anything. If I still lived in the city, if I still lived in the hood, you can't rob anybody who doesn't have anything. So you will be on the menu. You will be the target. You will be the one that everybody goes after when stuff gets hectic and they cut the food and they cut the electricity. They're coming to your land. They're coming to your property. They're coming to take your goods and your food and anything else that they may deem needful, up to and possibly your women, depending on who's doing the robbing and the thuggery. So these are things that I would have to listen to daily while tuning into YouTube. And even if I wasn't looking for it, everybody's a doomsday prepper. Everybody has the best advice. Everybody knows what you need to do. Everybody knows what you should have did. And it's not going to matter how many guns or how many people you have holding it down on your land, because you're not going to be able to outfight the majority. And that's something to consider. You will not be able to outfight the majority. And when they get ready to make a move on you, and come see you, then you're really going to have problems. And then you're going to be no different from the person who hasn't prepped, if they let you live. If they let you live, because by those times, by those times, is either gonna is gonna be kill, or they do whatever they want with you. You know what I mean? So those are things to consider. Those are things to consider. My advice to you, if you are a prepper, if you are self-sustainable, you have your own land, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Don't let people know that you exist. Just worry about you and your family. Don't get on YouTube and try to boast about how prepared you are. Because now that people know your face, they know they have some sort of idea what area you live in, they're going to comb those areas to come see you. And when they come see you, it's not going to be, a pleasant greeting. It's going to be, I want what you got, give it up, or we'll do with you whatever we deem fit. So that's my message to, these preppers and these doomsday preppers and all these people who, want to get on YouTube and XYZ and talk about, what they got and all that other stuff. I think it's foolish. I think it's very foolish. That's just like going to Colombia and walking around with a big wallet full of cash and just showing everybody your diamond rings and all that stuff, because that's what this country is coming to. We already got food shortages happening. We already got layoffs. And what's going to make these people even more dangerous is they're not used to living like that. It's not like, you're living in, you're raised in some parts of Mexico or some parts of Colombia where you're used to scarcity, where you're used to living without, these means to, these everyday means like internet and, telephone and, grocery stores. You're not used to growing your own food. You're not used to, milking a cow and butchering a chicken or butchering, a cow or butchering a pig. You're not used to any of that stuff. So it's going to make these people 10 times as violent, desperate, and needy when America does decide to cut the grid or cut the food, or cut the grocery stores or whatever. People are already ransacking grocery stores and Target stores. The other day I was looking at something, and these people are going through Target just ransacking it. You know what I mean? So people already have the mob mentality to just go out and destroy and take. And this isn't good times. This isn't quote unquote good times to where a grocery store is accessible. Wait till they start, cutting, SNAP and EBT. Wait till they start cutting all these benefits, especially for the people that live out in the rural areas. You think it's just in the city. No, you have a lot of, people out there that live in those rural country areas. They're the biggest beneficiaries of government assistance. And so once they cut that, yes, prepper that has all the quote unquote guns and food and land, you're the first on the menu. And that's just from the poor people's side. We haven't even gotten to when the government tries to take your stuff. We haven't even gotten to that. There was this movie, I can't remember, but it's by Angel Studios. It's a movie by Angel Studios. And I think it's called, I can't remember it. But if you look up Angel Studios, you'll see that there's a movie on there to where it talks about this guy who pretty much was self-sufficient. He had land, he had food stored up. He was a doomsday prepper, and he hired these mercenaries to pretty much help him protect his land and his family. Well, what happened was the townsfolk started ganging up by the gates of his property. And so it came to a point to where even the local government showed up and said, we need your food. The local government showed up and says, we need that. And we're willing to get violent for that. And so not only do you have to worry about the common folk, who may know where you're at, but you also got to worry about the government. That's just food for thought. Something to think about, something to mull over. That's today's sermon. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk about something else different. We're always going to have something to talk about on these walks here. So, you know, keep your head on the swivel, as they say. You know, stay encouraged, stay motivated. If you're in America, work on a plan to get out. That's what I did. Very, very necessary, especially in these days and times to where, you know, people are, you know, fighting the government. People are fighting themselves. There's a lot of racial polarization. You know, there's just no more harmony. And you can see that with the country. You can see that everything is collapsing from the inside. So, question is, why stay? I left. Maybe you should too. See you in the next one.